We all get wake-up calls. We get wake-up calls in our relationship. We get wake-up in our finances. And they're getting wake-up calls on a bunch of things.
Turning setbacks into comebacks. My story. Have you ever had one of those moments where life feels like it just punched you in the gut and you're lying there wondering if you'll ever get up again? That's exactly where my story begins. I didn't plan for setbacks. I didn't ask for them. But they came anyway, and honestly, at first I thought they were the end of me. What I didn't realize back then was that those setbacks weren't walls. They were detours.
And angry and bitter is because you're functioning on an old software internally. It's what's gonna get you in the door. Sacrifice is what's gonna have you seated at the table.
And those detours, they eventually led me to some of the best places in my life. So today, I want to share my journey with you. Not as some polished, motivational speaker speech, but as a real story. The messy parts, the doubts, the tears, and eventually the comeback that changed everything. Because maybe, just maybe, my story will remind you that whatever setback you're facing right now,
Where we spend our time is what we value most. Awesome and admit that you are afraid. You are afraid to fulfill destiny. You are afraid to manifest. You are afraid to evolve.
it doesn't have to be the end of your story either. 1. When everything fell apart. I'll be honest, the moment it all started, I didn't see it as a setback. I saw it as a total collapse. At the time, I had what I thought was a secure plan. My career path was mapped out, my relationship seemed solid, and I had this idea in my head of how life was supposed to unfold. You know, step 1, step 2, success. But life doesn't care about our step-by-step plans. One by one, things started to break apart.
Down your 24-hour schedule for me. You let me get it. I can tell you where you're going to be in 5 years. I can tell you where you're going to be in 10 years. I can where you're going to be in 20 years if you keep that schedule.
The reason why you're so frustrated.
The job I thought I'd have forever slipped out of my hands. Relationships I thought were unshakable suddenly cracked. And on top of that, my own self-belief went missing. I'd look in the mirror and think, who even are you anymore? If you've ever been there, you know how heavy it feels. It's like carrying invisible bricks on your back everywhere you go. And every failure, every mistake, every loss feels like another brick added to the pile. At that point, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel like a fighter. I felt like someone who had lost the battle before it even started.
If you only have 24 hours in a day, success is dependent upon how you use the 24. You gotta hear me. People talk about Oprah Winfrey, Ted, Warren Buffett. Listen to me. I don't care how much money you make.
Aunties. The dark middle. The hardest part about setbacks isn't the moment they happen. It's the days after. The weeks when nothing seems to improve. You wake up every day thinking, maybe today will be different. But the weight is still there. For me, those days stretched into months. I avoided people. I pretended I was okay. I smiled when I needed to, but inside I was crumbling. Nights were the worst. That's when the silence got loud and the doubts came crawling in. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you'll never get back up.
You gotta sacrifice. When you wanna sleep, you have to wake up. When you wanna watch that movie, if you want the future, you gotta sacrifice your time.
Maybe this is it. Your story ends here. Those thoughts haunted me, and for a while, I believed them. Urodati Yisak, the turning point. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. Sometimes it's the only place you can push off from. One night, I was sitting in my room staring at a blank wall, feeling completely useless. And something inside me snapped. Not in a destructive way, but in a quiet, stubborn way.
You only get 24 hours in a day. And between Oprah and the person that's broke is Oprah uses her 24 hours wisely.
A voice, softer than my doubts, whispered, "What if this isn't the end? What if this is just the beginning of a different chapter?" That thought didn't solve everything, but it cracked open the door. And sometimes, all you need is a small crack of light to start finding your way out of the dark. I decided to take one step. Just one. For me, that meant writing down everything I was feeling in a notebook. I didn't try to fix it all.
That's it. Listen to me. That's it. You get 24. I don't care. You broke. You grew up broke. care if you're in college, you're not in college.
I just poured out the mess onto paper. And weirdly, that made me feel a little lighter. The next day, I tried another step. I went for a walk, even though my body felt heavy. Then another step. I reached out to a friend I hadn't spoken to in months. Little by little, those tiny steps started to build something inside me.
I get 24 hours and I blew up literally. I went from a high school dropout to 6,000 books in less than 6 months.
Learning to rebuild. When you're rebuilding after a setback, it's not about one giant move that fixes everything. It's about small habits, repeated daily, that slowly pull you out of the hole. I started to focus on 3 things. 1. Routine. Even when I didn't feel like it, I created small rituals, waking up at the same time, journaling for 10 minutes, exercising, even if just for 15 minutes. It gave me structure when my life felt chaotic. 2. Mindset.
Happened in my 24 hours. I was like, okay, Eric, you got to get a grip on your 24 hours because you're about to be broke for the rest of your life. And that's all I need you to do for me. I can tell you all about your life if you just write.
I forced myself to challenge every negative thought. Instead of "I'm not good enough," I'd replace it with "I'm learning." Instead of "this is the end," I'd remind myself, "this is just a chapter." 3. Connection. For too long, I'd isolated myself, but slowly, I started opening up to people I trusted. Their encouragement reminded me that I wasn't alone. The funny thing is, none of these things felt like comebacks in the moment. They felt ordinary, but looking back, those small daily choices were the comeback in motion. Stock precious. The first wins. Setbacks trick you into thinking you'll never win again.
Afraid of focusing. I am not afraid. I don't care what I'll look like. I'll look crazy if I fulfill my destiny. Late nights, early mornings, sometimes friends, no family. I don't know what your sacrifice.
But the truth is, even the smallest win matters. For me, my first win was completing a project I had abandoned months earlier. It wasn't perfect, but finishing it reminded me that I was capable of seeing things through. Then came another win, landing a freelance job that paid less than I wanted but gave me hope again. Each little victory stacked on the next, like stepping stones across a river. And with each stone, I felt stronger, more confident, less like a victim of my story and more like the author of it.
You just may have to give everything you have.
If you're gonna come to me and tell me you don't have time, in a world where I work every...
Lessons I learned along the way. If I had to sum up what turning setbacks into comebacks taught me, it would be this. Setbacks are not stop signs. When life throws you off course, it feels like everything comes to a dead end. I remember lying in bed some nights thinking, that's it, I'll never recover from this. But here's the truth. Setbacks are rarely permanent. They're like those road detours that force you onto a different street. Annoying? Yes. Frustrating? Absolutely. But sometimes that new route shows you something you would have never seen if you had stayed on your original path.
Okay, maybe stop breaking promises to yourself. When you say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 7 a.m., and when the option comes, snooze button, don't do it.
What feels like a no right now might actually be the universe's way of saying, not this way, but another way. Strength is built in the struggle. Nobody becomes strong sitting in comfort. Think about athletes. They don't build muscle by avoiding the gym. They build it by pushing against resistance. Life works the same way. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every disappointment, it's resistance training for your character. I didn't feel strong while I was crying on the floor, or while I was failing interviews, or while I was facing rejection. But looking back, those exact moments carved out resilience in me.
You are afraid to change. You are afraid to move, break through. I need you to tell you, I am not afraid. I am not afraid of pursuing my objectives.
Strength doesn't come when things are easy. It's born when you have no choice but to keep going. Progress beats perfection. For the longest time, I thought I had to get it right before I could move forward. I waited for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect mindset. But all that waiting just left me stuck. One of the biggest lessons I learned is that imperfect action is always better than perfect hesitation. Sending that messy resume, making that shaky phone call, starting that project even though it might fail. Those imperfect moves are what create momentum. And momentum, that's what gets you unstuck. If you wait for perfect, you'll be waiting forever. Your story isn't over. This one's the most important.
Second for 18 hours a day, you're gonna have a tough time making me feel bad that it's not happening for you because
it's now or never time.
What would have had to have happened in a week?
When you're in the middle of a setback, it feels final, like you've reached the last chapter and the book is closed. But I promise you, there are pages left you haven't even read yet. Sometimes the most powerful parts of your story don't come until after the struggle. I used to think failure defined me. Now I realize failure refined me. It stripped away what wasn't working, it taught me lessons I couldn't have learned otherwise, and it pushed me into becoming someone I never thought I could be. Here's the truth. The story isn't finished until you decide it is. And as long as you're breathing, there's still time to write a better ending. Where I am now. Looking back, I almost don't recognize the person who thought their life was over after that setback. I see now that the loss, the pain, the confusion, it all shaped me. It stripped away what I thought I needed and forced me to discover who I really was. I didn't just bounce back. I grew back stronger.
The only time we can transform, and
Don't miss the opportunity of this moment because the days are going to be long, but the months.
You have an opportunity.
And the life I have today, the opportunities I've had, the people I've met, I wouldn't have found them without the detour my setbacks pushed me onto. If you told me years ago that the failure I dreaded would be the very thing that opened the door to the life I'm living now, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's exactly how it turned out. Why this matters for you.
Where we spend our time is what we value most. Boss up and admit that you are afraid. You are afraid to fulfill destiny. You are afraid to manifest. You are afraid to evolve.
I'm sharing this not because I think my story is extraordinary, but because I know how ordinary setbacks are. Everyone faces them. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward isn't luck, it's choice.
Afraid of focusing. I am not afraid. I don't care what I'll look like. I'll look crazy if I fulfill my destiny. Late nights, early mornings, sometimes friends, no family. I don't know what your sacrifice.
So if you're in that place right now, feeling lost, broken, or defeated, I want you to hear me clearly. This isn't where your story ends. Take one step today. Just one. Write something down. Call someone. Go for that walk.
We all get wake-up calls. We get wake-up calls in our relationship. We get wake-up in our finances. And they're getting wake-up calls on a bunch of things.
Send that application. Whatever it is. Start the motion. Because motion creates momentum, and momentum builds comebacks. Setbacks might feel like the period at the end of your sentence, but more often than not, they're just a comma. A pause before the story continues.
happened in my 24 hours. I was like, okay, Eric, you got to get a grip on your 24 hours because you're about to be broke for the rest of your life. And that's all I need you to do for me. I can tell you all about your life if you just write.
And the comeback? That's yours to write. If this story connected with you, if it gave you even a little push to keep going, then stick around. Subscribe, follow, or share this with someone who needs it. Because we're all in this together. And your comeback story might be the very thing that inspires someone else tomorrow.